Hello, this is Luciana Paulise. Welcome to Leading Remotely for Practices to Become an Agile Leader. Nowadays, the workforce is changing at such a rapid pace. New technologies demand continuous innovation. The enormous amount of new products make customers more picky than ever. They want more products, more customized anywhere they are. More technologies and more products bring more information and complexity to the table, which require multidisciplinary teams and global teams with different expertise, with different backgrounds to handle them. And now, after COVID-19, we all had to adapt these teams to work remotely in different places and become more self-disciplined to be able to work from home without having a leader working next to them. So the workforce was forced to evolve to prioritize teamwork even if teamwork is not in the same place. New technologies, new customer trends, diversity, and a remote workforce continue transforming how work is being done. More than ever, organizations need agile leaders that can quickly adapt to these changes. In 2020, the US saw a 125% increase in remote work. Change has become the only constant, which is very difficult to predict what's going to happen in the future. This means that we need to upskill employees to make them adapt quickly to all these changes, no matter what type of change comes. Now, are leaders ready for this? Actually, employees claim that training is almost non-existent for them. There is no time, it's not a priority, it's not valued who is more qualified or who proposes improvements. There is a global need to retrain employees. A 2016 survey found that 44% of the employees felt unprepared for the roles, and 87% wish they had more training, especially leaders. Now, according to a Boston Consulting Group research, 63% of the companies in the US are not planning on how to upscale their employees. And only 20% have a plan but are not implementing it yet. Only 16% are front runners and have an idea on how to train and develop their employees continuously. And now, after the crisis, the training has been reduced even more. So, what are we expecting to do? What is this crisis bringing to us? Well, the Japanese said that crisis for them has two meanings actually. One is danger and the other one is opportunity. So the way Japanese see is that we have to look for opportunities when things turn bad. While many succumb, some may have found a way to help their teams thrive even in adversity. So it's critical that we all work together to overcome this crisis. Now, how are we going to do it? Especially after COVID-19, leaders need to become more agile to work with the remote team and deal with an immediate crisis is key. The role of the leader working with a remote team has changed significantly. Before the pandemic, most leaders were expected to be in charge. Suddenly, the shift to a remote workforce and a more volatile environment posed tremendous challenges for them. But one of the most important skills leaders have to develop is to facilitate interactions. No matter where you are or where your team is, you need to facilitate interactions to be able to succeed in a changing environment. Leaders need to work on enabling the best in their people rather than commanding it from them. Leaders should be no longer in charge of telling their teams what to do, but they should empower employees to be self-organized. Like in sport, leaders can be outstanding performers, but you need a team to win a championship. 4 core practices are the ones that we're going to review in this session, and those practices will help leaders to become more agile and to be able to work with the remote team without micromanaging. And these 4 practices are connect, attend, respect, and empower. Now, the problem is how we develop our roles while we're working remotely. Many leaders were used to checking on employees at all times before the pandemic. Now, while working remotely, managers had to learn to trust employees to know what they are doing. Managers and workers learned to empower themselves. Especially after COVID-19, leaders need to become more agile to work with a remote team and deal with an immediate crisis. The role of the leader working with a remote team has changed significantly. Before the pandemic, most leaders were expected to be in charge. Suddenly, the shift to remote workforce and a more volatile environment posed tremendous challenges for the leaders. One of the most important skills leaders have to develop is facilitating interactions. No matter where you are, no matter where your team is, you need to facilitate how the team members interact with each other and with the company and other teams so that you can succeed in a changing environment. You need to work on enabling the best in your people rather than commanding it from them. Leaders should no longer be in charge of telling their teams what to do, but they should empower employees to be self-organized. Like in sports, leader can be outstanding performers, but you need a team to win a championship. Now we're going to review 4 care practices that will help leaders to become more agile, even working remotely. Those practices are connect, attend, respect, and empower. What we're going to focus more is how we can do it remotely. What are the main things that we need to consider in order to be able to thrive even working with a distributed team? So the first thing was connecting. Employees that were working in the same space were easily connected to each other, were able to talk to each other at any time, were always seeing signs from the company about values, about what the leaders were expecting from them. They had the leader right away to ask any questions to help them. Now, when they had to work from home, they had to adapt to connect in a different way. But still, employees were looking for human connection. So employees in every part in the globe try to find their small tribe, a small team where they can reconnect constantly. And they were also needing for a very, very well defined purpose so that they can serve the customers better. They had to be able to make decisions on how to serve the customer. So that's why they need to know very well what is expected from them. This is where leaders come into place. Under typical circumstances, connection with other human beings reduces stress, increases the sense of purpose, and drives innovation. But now, when disruption reaches the social contact, the role of the leader is to generate alternatives to facilitate this connection. You need to define what the purpose of your team is. You need to remind them why are there, what is their role, why do they need to continue working, and what is the customer expecting from them. It's good that you discuss with your team and make sure everyone understands how they connect their actions to the purpose of the company, how all the roles are connected so that you all can achieve the end goal of the company. Let's say that the goal is to give customers a unique experience. Check with your team how each of them feel they can contribute to that. Communicate with your staff regularly and consistently at the same time to maintain a routine and ensure a safe space. Maybe every day in the morning at 8 a.m. or maybe every day at midday. It's a good way to keep remembering teams that were still together, that were all trying to achieve the same thing. Also, invite all members to turn on the video and maintain eye contact as much as possible to increase engagement. You can also maybe reduce the time of the meetings, make them shorter, but make sure that every time everyone is present at that time. And the other part of connecting is also how you can foster innovation. But putting people together in a remote screen, maybe, or using different tools that help you participate together, you can foster innovation. It doesn't have to be only you working on that. So, this time of crisis, as we said, is a time where you can also have a challenge, but you can also have an opportunity to do something new. Connection can foster innovation no matter where your team is. So when you are able to connect your people, you are able again to bring a lot of ideas together. Workers learn to be more self-reliant. Working from home, they realized that they had to be more independent and they had to learn how to make decisions on their own when managers were not available. Employees also increased their attention to details, especially in handling customer data. Information had to be shared more openly to increase trust and self-confidence with the employees. This is what most of the companies had to do. Now, while working at the office, employees had the luxury to rely on leaders' decision-making process, but more remotely push decision-making to the front line. During a crisis, transparency is critical. Feeling safe is a basic human need, and crisis challenge this need, especially if there's a lack of communication. As a leader, take more the role of observer and help your team make up their mind. Start communicating and listening actively more than ever. Encourage people to share information by democratizing digital folders, documents, scoreboards. You can use different digital tools to help you achieve that more easily. You can provide access to trends, customer complaints, future trends, so that your team is better prepared to make decisions on their own. You can also use pictures, images, and videos to facilitate understanding, but especially create a safe space to make mistakes, because we need to push decision making to the front line. If you have to make decisions for all of them every time, you are not leading, you are micromanaging. And we're going to talk about more about that in a specific course to attend actively. The next step is respect. In the past, employees were not asked for input on how they wanted to go about their jobs. After COVID-19, employees' needs started to be taken into account. Some people were alone and were able to work more, while some others lived with their kids and had to work at night maybe to be able to focus. At the same time, the Black Lives Matter movement intensified the need for equality, diversity, and inclusion for minorities. There is when respect comes into place. Leaders need to respect individual needs more than ever. Facilitating or coaching means that you trust your employees' abilities, you value their differences, and you highlight their strengths. The leader job is not to cheer up their team or tell them what to do. The focus more is on building trust, provide support and other flexible options that accommodate the different needs, and to empathize with your employees to figure out how to assist them. Some companies that used to provide food in company, for example, now are sending food to employees' houses. Other companies, such as call centers, are providing flexible schedules so that you can meet your hours anytime that you are available. Besides regular team meetings, you can also do more frequent one-on-one sessions so that you can understand exactly what is the need of your specific employee. And some recommendations under you there to ask questions such as how are you handling this, how are you feeling, especially when work is remote. Feedback through email or no feedback at all can really hurt employees' motivation tremendously. So concrete positive reinforcement and one-on-one discussions have to be continuous. Last but not least, the fourth behavior that changed was that employees had to empower themselves to become more autonomous. Employees had to define new ways to get their job done at home with the resources that they had. They had also to learn to set new goals based on their current availability. After some time working remotely, some people may have learned to work autonomously, but others may still be struggling. So during a hard time, leaders tend to micromanage more than usual. How do you micromanage remotely? Well, simply forget about it. Let's empower employees instead. How are we going to empower them? You have to encourage associates to set up goals and to be owners of their work. Create an online environment where people feel safe to provide updates, offer ideas, and ask for support. Make it more a pull system where they ask for help and not you don't have to push them to get the job done. Encourage self-organization more than ever so that team members don't depend on you. Making decisions during a crisis is like planning long term. Everything is variable. So while you empower your team, they will become sensors to help detect and deal with all type of issues that maybe you don't realize they can detect, and they can call the attention. Empower them to do so. These four values, connection, attention, respect, and empowerment, are practiced daily by self-organized teams in agile organizations. During hard times, self-organization is the most valuable skill that you have to develop within the way you work and within the way your team works. How you do this? In the past, well, really, you were trying to care for the customer, but now, really, you have to care for your employees. That's your primary role. You have to focus on how the employee experience is improved through time. You may need to learn, but also unlearn the way you used to work. You need to learn new ways to care for your people. You need to connect with them and their purpose more intentionally, attend more actively than ever to detect unforeseen issues. You need to respect and value their skills, their personal needs, and also the differences. And last but not least, you need to empower them to work remotely with less supervision. This is just the beginning. A new way of leading, trusting more in the power of self-organization. You need to redesign the whole employee experience to better adapt to these changes. Everyone in the company needs to help. You, your managers, your trainers, HR, all need to get involved in all the steps of the employee experience, which are recruiting, hiring, onboarding, engaging, performing, developing, and even when people is departing. There's always a way for you to learn how to work better with your employees, and there's also a way for you to engage them more to get the best out of them. The employee experience is no longer an HR job. It is the job of the leader to try to see how you can improve each of the steps where an employee works, where an employee has contact, so that you can improve how you get the best out of them to complete and fulfill the purpose of the company. Now, after we have reviewed all this, let's do an exercise. Think about your main challenges while working remotely. Also share your learnings, try to see how you manage these challenges. So basically, we want to know what are the challenges that you still have, what are the challenges that you still want to work on, and what are the learnings, what are the things that you were able to accomplish, and what are the things that you were able to work differently. Try to write down all these learnings and all these challenges in your little notebook. And maybe it's digital, maybe it's just a regular paper book. Try to write them down so that you can really learn something out of this. And the summary of the session, let's review the recap. Leaders facilitate interactions to succeed in a changing environment. That's the main role of the leader. You also, leaders need to support and continuous training to learn new care skills. And third, you need to redesign the employee experience. It's no longer an HR job, but is the job of the leader. Remember the four values: connection, attention, respect, and empowerment that are practiced daily by self-organizing teams. It's something that you can do too, that you have to practice even and especially during hard times. In the next videos, you'll see in detail how to answer some of the challenges that we have specifically for each of these practices. Thank you very much. Well done. I hope you enjoyed this class. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. This is my information, and you can contact me in social media on Paulise, and you can also go to theweculture.com. Thank you very much, and hope to see you in the next video.